putting a little WD-40 on the
Right.
top. Maybe it opens an extra 300 times than it wouldn't have, or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah. And yeah. So it's all kinds of things. It's so many lessons learned. And I do love these conversations because I think it puts some of the hard things forward. And I think whether it's, in business, no matter where you're at, if you have to talk to your boss or you need to talk to one of your employees and it's a hard conversation, I think a lot of us feel better once we leave that conversation. And sometimes the stress moving into those conversations are more heavy on us than actually what we're facing. And so I appreciate this conversation. I love it. I think you and I could go through it more and more. If I could pay you to build me a budget for 2024, let me know.
Okay.
But I think a lot of the I think we got some good sound advice for some people, and so I'm really excited. I'm excited to set some goals this year, and I know maybe I'm a little bit behind on setting them, but that's just the way it goes anyways. It doesn't matter if I am or not because there's no better day to start than now, I guess.
That's right. I always look at goals as what you're looking for when you set a goal is for the future change, right? So if everybody puts us on January 1st, and that's what everybody thinks, but if we don't get these in, and if your first goal is to set a goal and you don't set it, you have it set for January 1 and you don't set it till February 1st, you still set it, so you still February through
Yeah.
December, you're still going to have a goal to adhere to. And
That's like how
and
I make lists, where I just add the things I've already done so I can cross something out.
For myself, last year it was June 30th, and I looked at some operations through June 30th, and they weren't where I wanted, So I
We
made
have
a
to
decision,
be flexible. Yeah.
in
Well, we
July.
shouldn't wait for a certain day to set a goal, right? I mean, some people do things for 3 months. So, I mean, they've probably got goals every day and every week. So,
And I
uh,
think that's important too, right? We want to, just like we want to feel our employees to feel appreciated, we want to feel appreciated. Even though we're making the goals, put some softballs in there, right? Showed up to work today. Yep. Hey, I met three goals today, and then, but you have some goals that are easy goals, some that are, much harder to attain, some that are, going to be this daily task, some that are going to take a week to get to, some that are, month and,
right,
oh, year, right? So you set intermittent goals. That way you have something to not always feel like you're behind the eight ball. That's
right.
what it is. Hey,
Yeah,
I'm making progress, right? And
right,
that's part of it is, again, if you look at, we all want revenue. And if you look at just how much revenue do I want for 2024, A, you've got to wait 12 months to see if you hit it. And B, how are you going to judge that as you go, right? But if you
right,
say, I want to make, this much monthly, and then this much, I want my per week to be this much. And, then it's really
yeah,
just like I said earlier, it's math. If I want to make, $1.2 million a year, well, that means I need to make 100,000 a
yeah,
month,
yeah.
and you just break back from there.
Yeah, I just backed my like kind of my our revenue goals tied back to like the number of transactions to the day. And the number was 23, which is kind of a big one. Um, but we need to improve the number of guests inside our restaurant by 23. And so and it goes just back down to like the per seat ticket average, and so we kind of got down like, so 23, there's 30,000 cars that drive down our street
Mhm.
every day. Well, I probably, if there's two people in each of those cars, I need 12 of them to turn left. That doesn't seem that hard.
And it's that kind of stuff that when you're working on the business, not in the business, when people aren't necessarily, they think the financials are boring, but when you start looking at it from that side, now it kind of gets exciting.
Yeah.
I was watching a Netflix show the other day, and um, it was about Uber and kind of the start of Uber. And it was funny because I'm watching it, it's 11:30 at night or something like that. And, the venture capitalist guy's having the conversation with the founder, and, he says, like, talking about sticky, right? And it's kind of the
Mhm.
same thing for
Oh, yeah.
in my business, like if they use this once, how many times do they have to use this
Yeah.
before it become their lifestyle?
Yeah.
And, in that show, he says like, we've got the data. If they take a ride with us twice, they're a lifetime client.
Right.
If at 11:30 at night I could have made a decision, I was giving my services free to everyone in my subdivision, right? Because I was like,
Right.
if they use this twice, and I'd have to do the
Yeah.
data, see what it is. But okay, yeah, I give away, that's marketing essentially, right? And
Right.
I've got a budget for that, right? And I put that
Right.
out. But then you see, and now you turn 23, new customers a day or, an hour or whatever that is to 25 to
Right.
30, 32. And the next thing you know, you're at 45. And then the next thing you know, you're saying, we've got an hour wait.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
know. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I wasn't thinking about the 24th customer and how great that's going to be. I was really only focused on that 23 number, but I watched the same Netflix and I think it's interesting um, how many times that guy failed.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did in the early days too. And I don't know how accurate that documentary is or if it's just a little bit of a show.
Yeah.
Um, but I watched the same one and I'm like, dang, I would have given up, and I don't know. I watch shows like that now too. And it's from a totally different perspective as before I
Mhm.
owned a business. And I'm like, man, I might have given up at that point, or I might have thrown in the towel. And so I think about that sometimes, even just with just TV shows, just like what was the one? It was a lawyer, and they're always just trying to fight each other, and they always play a different game or they go a different route. And so I'll go to bed thinking, I'm like, well, maybe if I just go a different route on this internal thing that I'm going through, and it
Yeah.
starts making you think a little bit different. So my husband always tells me, and it is kind of true, like sometimes you just need that mindless television to like reframe the situation that you're in. And so because I'm always like, I'm so stressed out. I can't do this. And I just need to go to bed right now. Or, I can't focus on anything else. He's like, just go watch 30 minutes of mindless television, please. Like you're stressing me out.
Yeah. And then sometimes, you come back to it. Like for me, one of the biggest things I ever did was I was worried at one point as I was coming up, right? I was in the business, I was doing everything, and I'm looking at my numbers and my P&L, and I'm thinking, I need help. I need a manager. But man, my P&L, it
Can't
doesn't
afford
support,
it. Right.
but
Doesn't make
and
sense.
that's what, kind of did that, right? Thought about it, was, just stressing over it. Went and kind of watched some TV, just, and came back and thought, how nice was that? I didn't have to think about this. I was able to just be in my own lane here for a bit. And then it comes back to, you know what? Maybe it's the flip side. Maybe instead of my budget doesn't support having a manager, maybe if I invest in a manager, that manager will help me double that budget.
Right.
And that's what I've seen time over time, is that's where the knowledge and experience part comes in. To sometimes you got to make a decision outside of what the P&L even tells you to make the P&L follow that decision, just
Right.
like sometimes we make P&L decisions and the operations have to follow it.
Right.
It goes in tandem.
Yeah. Well, let me know when you figure it all out. And then because I
Cool.
think it's just it's a puzzle. It's an absolute puzzle. And I don't know. I guess puzzles always get to the same end, but and maybe it's a Jenga situation, and you don't
I
think you
look at
can
it like Tetris, it's
Tetris.
fun watching, and that's how I look at every piece of it. It's fun when you find the piece that fits right in the slot and oh, it works, and now you've got
The
a lot
next
more
piece
room there.
falls.
But then the next piece is still coming, no matter, how good that moment felt. And then it just, you hit that point, you hit, the holidays and you're mounting up and it's coming faster and
Oh my
faster.
gosh. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as
Well,
long as
and
you
I think
can,
it helps to surround yourself around other people that are going through what, I don't know. Like I said, like you and I just met the other day and I'm like, oh my God, I feel like, like you must be in my brain or like what's going on, or maybe you're going through the same thing. And I talk a little bit about that. I think the chamber itself and what it's done for me in my business has just put me around people that are going through the same thing I'm going through. When I was an employee, I had coworkers where we could all kind of get together and complain about an operational thing. We had the coffee room chats, the water cooler chats and things like that, or we could chat each other on Messenger. But when you're an owner or even a leader in your business, sometimes it's a little isolating and you don't really get to, and it's hard to kind of share the tough times and then, bask in the good times and brag about where you're at, because none of us know how to even brag on ourselves anymore, I think sometimes. And so I think that's really one of the beauties of the chamber for me, and some of the goals I have for my role on the board with the chamber this year is just to kind of continue to like enrich the business conversation. And one of the great things about our Cottonville Weldon Spring Chamber is I think a lot of us are really, there's a lot of close groups of friends, and you could be nichey at times as well. But we're all going through the same thing. And when you can have a beer, you can have a cup of coffee and talk about what your day is going to look like, whether it's the same industry or not, or, there you can learn something from each other is kind of my point. And I hope somebody learns something from this conversation. And I hope we get to do it again, because I hope somebody can tell us, okay, we're going to have to ask that. Everybody, A, subscribe to the podcast, and then B, put it in a comment. And if there's something that you want to know about budgeting, P&L, accounting, I don't know, reconciliation, whatever it might be.
I think you're spot on there. If people put in, let us know like what specifics, because obviously I think, it's very easy to look at it, and anything in business, look at it from a holistic standpoint, which is good at certain times, but sometimes you do got to get into the detail, and, maybe it is one or two items that's really holding people up. But I always look at it, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. And I think that's what we get with our chamber a lot of times, is that like-mindedness, but we're such a collaboration that I always feel that I'm pulling something away and hopefully adding to the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think you are, from the few conversations that the two of us have had together. So
for sure.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Doug.
The Cottonville Weldon Spring Business Accelerator podcast, brought to you by the Cottonville Weldon Spring Chamber of Commerce, a powerful business organization in St. Charles County that sees the benefits in networking, being active in the community, and supporting each other in a way that assists us to grow our business and develop professionally. For more information, go to CottonvilleWeldonSpringChamber.com. Produced by thepodcastproshop.com. And always remember to like, share, and subscribe.